Hey everyone, I'm Steve from GamersNexus.net, and we're at GDC 2016 now looking at some MMORPGs. There's a bit of a turn for our coverage today, and I'm joined by Brad McQuaid to talk about Pantheon, which is a new MMO that definitely reminds me of EverQuest. But before we get to that, all of our GDC 2016 coverage is brought to you by Raw Fury's Goner game, and you can see that on the screen now. Brad, so you've obviously got a pretty big history with EverQuest and Vanguard. What have you brought forward to Pantheon, and what are some things that maybe you've culled from the older titles?
Well, the main thing that we want to bring back is a social game, a cooperative game, where players need each other. They have time to make real friendships with each other. They can really call the game a home. It's not going to be a situation where you're just wandering around an online world and the server is, you come up to an instance dungeon and the server just picks a bunch of random people to go with you and you run through the dungeon and then you never see them again. It's definitely about that shared experience, that social cooperative nature of the games. I think that's the biggest thing that we need to bring back, and that I would actually say needs to come back to massively multiplayer games.
And how about items that have maybe not aged as well from 99 EverQuest or something like that? What's been gotten rid of that you specifically don't think aged well?
Well, a lot of our audience are the old, they've played the old games. We also want to appeal to the newer generation that wasn't even around for the first generation of MMOs, who are seeking, they've enjoyed cooperative play, like playing Call of Duty or whatever, but they've never really experienced it, playing with their friends against the environment in a persistent world. But there is a reality, and that is a lot of people have grown up. They've got responsibilities now, spouses, jobs, etc. So a lot of the needless repetition, too much grinding, sitting there for hours, working on your factions. And then we're trying to keep the sessions basically shorter. So yeah, you can sit there and play as long as you want, but the way we're setting up the world, populating it, setting up the quests, we're targeting about around a 2-hour session so that a person can still log on with his friends, play a couple hours, and have a sense of accomplishment, achieve something, progress their character, get some item they needed. And it doesn't have to be, the 6, 8, 10-hour crazy session, because it's just not really compatible with people's lives anymore. They've got responsibilities. Right. So if we can bring back that magic without, the TDM or the excessive time and the excessive grind, I think that's the way to go. Bringing the genre forward and that's what we're interested in.
So one of the things that comes to my mind when I was playing the older games was travel. Mm-hmm. And specifically for anyone who played EverQuest, sort of pre-Planes of Power, it was a lot more physically wandering around the landscape. How are you working with travel in Pantheon?
Well, first of all, you will be doing a lot of running around, but as we've shown you in the demo, we've created interesting points to explore. You shouldn't just be sitting there endlessly running across the desert, bored. Travel needs to be meaningful. The perception system we have, you'll be learning about the environment as you go along. One thing though, we don't know this until we get into beta and we have enough players, you have enough critical mass. It could be creating this epic world that there does need to be some limited teleportation, and if that does become necessary, we will implement that. It probably would be keyed. You'd have to get to the area first and explore it, kind of like Velius. And so yeah, so there are decisions that we aren't going to finalize until we have enough critical mass in the beta where we can experiment with these things and tune it and get it right for our target audience. Obviously we can't make it right for everyone, but for our core target audience who's been looking forward to this game, death penalty is the same thing. We haven't announced exactly how that's going to work. Right. Is it, are you going to, when you die, is your corpse going to have all your items on it or not? Things like that. We want to tune that and get players' feedback during beta before we set any of that in stone.
Right. So it definitely sounds interesting to me. If you want to read the full article coverage on what we saw here today, hit the link in the description below. And as always, thank you for watching. We'll see you all next time.